welcome back. It's July, so that is time for another month reading wrap up for the month of June. Let's just jump right into it. My last video, I mentioned that part of the reason I didn't read much in May was because I was working through this book. This is The Wolf Den. Rating wise is a very soft 4. Like, it's not a 3.5, so it's a 4. And I don't do any of that 0.75. I barely do 0.5s, okay? So I'm just gonna say soft 4. I finally finished it at the start of June. Fully started this book last November when I went to Disney, but then obviously wasn't reading and then forgot about it and then didn't pick it up again until May. The Wolf Den is a story about a group of women who live in a brothel in ancient Rome, what it's like for them to be enslaved women in Pompeii. I don't know what I thought this book really was going in. First of all, did not know it's a trilogy. We need to do a better job of marketing series so you know they're series. I think every spine should have a 1 or a 2 on them if they're a part of a series, you know? I can't keep doing this. I don't think I'm going to pick up the rest of the series. I'm not really sure how completely time accurate it is. Obviously the language is very modern, so that actually makes it pretty easy to read and to understand the characters, but you know, they're addressing bathhouses, so I'm assuming some kind of research went into this, so just kind of suspend your level of disbelief a little bit. It's historical fiction, but it's like very casual and modern still. It did make me feel like I was reading Percy Jackson again, just based on the fact that I couldn't pronounce half these people's fucking names. I don't know. I thought this book was that it was going to be about the woman in the brothel then getting revenge on all the men that kind of took advantage of them, kind of like Bandit Queen style. So I thought this was gonna be like, you know, a bunch of these women in ancient Rome start killing men, but it wasn't. I don't know if it will eventually get there in the rest of the series. I liked it, you know, I do think it was good. I think it was interesting. I don't know if it needed to be almost 500 pages. It felt like there was a lot until we got about here. But it was good. If you like historical or like mythology based things, I think this would be an interesting read. The next book I read was on my Kindle, was my only digital book for the month, and that was Dear Wendy. Dear Wendy is about 2 Aero A students who go to the same college, and they both kind of run their own relationship advice page, and they kind of start off as butting heads against each other and not liking the other person because, you know, competition, things like that. But in real life, they're actually friends and they don't know the other person runs the page. I really liked the characters in this one. I felt like there wasn't a whole lot of the plot. I felt like when there was conflict, it actually got resolved really soon and the stakes just didn't feel as heavy to me. This is technically YA, so it reads more like that. For me though, when a book is like set in college, you think it's gonna be a little bit more, have a little bit more to it. Whereas like if this would have been set in high school, I would have been like, okay, yeah, this is just like a YA, it's more simple. But I liked it, but I just wanted a bit more from it. I would say Dear Wendy was between a 3 and a 3.5. Again, I don't do that 0.25, but like somewhere between there. I liked it. It was good. Moving on. If you saw my New York vlog, which is here, I went to see John Proctor is the Villain on Broadway. Holy shit. I love that play so much. I had to buy the script. So the next book I read is the script for John Proctor is the Villain. Holy shit. To be fair, I gave this 5 stars. I don't know if I would have rated it 5 stars if I hadn't seen it first. So that's like the only reason that this isn't like my favorite book of the month, is just because it doesn't feel fair of an assessment to the other books. But like, holy shit. Oh my God. So good. So good. If you don't know, John Proctor is the Villain is about a class in a very small town who is studying the Crucible. And they kind of find that the plot of the Crucible is also somewhat reflecting what is happening in their town with like the whole like witch hunt and pointing fingers and accusations and things like that. I just have to say, that green light, I want it. Since seeing this play, my streams of Green Light by Lorde, like off the charts. Now I listen to it and I'm like, I cannot stop thinking about this play. I could just write essays upon essays about the characters in this play and how they interact with each other and how they like go off of each other and how they also connect and reflect on the characters within like the original Crucible, and how it's just like this takes place in a very, very small rural town in high school in 2018.
Is this fucking play about us?
Get out of my brain. There's so many like modern references in here, but it just still feels organic. Like it felt like how it was being in high school. You can go see it. Go see it. If you can read it, go read it. It's so good. It's so good. And stream Greenlight by Board. So good. Next book for this month was The God of the Woods. I read 2 books that were like nearly 500 pages, so that is why the number is a little lower, okay? 'Cause this is about a girl who goes missing in a summer camp in the 1970s, almost like 10 years after her brother went missing in the same place. This book came out last year and I kept seeing everybody talk about it, and I was like, I need to read that. I had to go on a little hunt to find it. And I went to so many bookstores and they didn't have it because it was sold out. And then I finally went and got one and it was on sale. So I was like, it was meant to be. I bought this, I think in December or January, but I was like, it's a summer camp. I have to wait till the summer to read it. So I did. I think that was a great choice. This was a great like summer mystery, thriller, fiction. I wouldn't say it's really a mystery or a thriller. Like I would say it's fiction, but it does have those elements within it. Do you see that? That is a map in the beginning of the book. No thank you. When I read a book, I play God, okay? I decide where the layout of everything is. If your description doesn't match what's in my head, guess what? I'm rewriting your description. I don't care what your characters look like. I don't care what this town that you spent so long trying to figure out looks like. I am God here. I decide those things. I decide who has what color hair. I decide what they're wearing, and I decide where the mountain is in relation to the river, okay? I don't need this menu. No, I don't. I already know just what I want. I was a little nervous reading this book because, again, didn't know much about it going in other than like missing summer camp, ooh. But there are a lot of shifting perspectives and a lot of shifting timelines, and that got me worried because usually when that happens in a book, I get confused very easily. I have very little attention spans and cannot remember a lot of characters all the time. I was instantly worried, but they actually did this thing at the top where they had this like kind of timeline, and then they would bold which section you were in. And at first I hated it, but then I actually thought it was really helpful because you could be like referencing the other times at the same time. So I think that actually helped me stay on track hopping between, you know, 1975 and 1950 and then 1960 and then what day it was and whose perspective it was. So I actually really liked that, and I wasn't confused pretty much at all reading it. I liked that the mystery part of it actually felt like a mystery. I feel like a lot of times my complaints with mystery and why I don't read a lot of mystery or thrillers is because they're very obvious and you can either see them coming right away and so it ruins the rest of the book, or they're so out of left field and not connected at all that it just feels like the author's like, ha, that you weren't expecting that. And you're like, yeah, no shit, you just introduced that character. I wasn't thinking it was them because they didn't exist for the past 200 pages. But this, I feel like once you get to the end, you can just see how interwoven everything was and how connected it was. And I kind of really mess with that. Like there was a part where they said something about somebody and I audibly had a reaction. And I don't always do that when I'm reading, but I literally went, oh my God. And my roommate was like, what the fuck are you doing? But Liz, you got me. There's so many different characters, so many different timelines, so many different perspectives, and how connected everything is. This would be such an interesting, like, one season show. I can just see it so vividly in my head. Also, the aesthetic of, like, a rich person summer camp in the middle of the woods and in the 70s. I just think it'd be so interesting because you would have, like, the camp mixed with, like, the rich people, mixed with, like, the other people in the town. Like, please, I would love to watch this, but please don't give it the Beartown treatment because I love Beartown and I was so excited to watch the show. I couldn't get through the first episode because none of the characters were like how they were in my brain, and it just all felt wrong, and I was like, I can't watch this. Like, maybe again I'll try to go later and give it like a second chance, but it just felt too wrong. It didn't match how I wanted it in my head. God of the Woods was so good. I would say this was probably my favorite book I read of this month. The last book I read this month was Animal Farm. I know at the beginning of the year I said I wanted to read 1 more classics and 2 more like dystopians because of the state of the world we're in, and then I didn't do that since February because Wuthering Heights sucked ass. So I read Animal Farm. First of all, who was gonna tell me Animal Farm was not 500 pages long? She's not even 200. I am worried that this book has mold on it because I got it used. We're moving past that. This book is about a group of animals that work together to overthrow their evil human suppressors. But then they just kind of find that they are kind of doomed to just repeat that cycle, which is highlighted by the main quote of the book. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Oh my God, I love this. I was nervous because the only other thing I read of George Orwell was a few years ago I read 1982, 84, dumbass. It's like I'm not even literate. A couple years ago I read 1984 and I liked the general idea. You know, Big Brother deleting everything, covering everything, liked that. Hated the execution, and I just think it was just because I didn't like the character, and then they introduced Julia just to be a woman with a body, and I didn't like that either. But I loved Animal Farm. So listened to Brittany Broski talk about it a bit on her podcast, so I think that was helpful. I do think I would have been able to follow along, but hearing Brittany kind of break it down in her perspectives first, I was more just so not trying to piece together the plot, but trying to connect, you know, the symbolism. Like, imagine Barnyard, the movie, but worse. Like, bad things happen. I think this would be a very interesting book to read in school. I know some schools do that. I know some schools have this book banned. But I kind of like that I got to read it with my adult, fully developed brain. I think if I would have read this in high school, I'd have been like, okay. But when I read it now, I was like, and again, she got marked, she got annotated, she got highlighted. Go read Animal Farm. If you haven't read Animal Farm, go read Animal Farm. I just can't believe Teddy Duncan used her baby sister in her book report for this. That's all I could think about during this whole thing. Those were the books that I read in the month of June. Got some little ones and some big ones. So there's a very wide variety. I feel like this is me. This is what I read. Hi, nice to meet you. This is what I like to read. It's just missing hockey. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.